Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's Dion's Daily Dose. We're going to have Sean here to have a face-to-face, but something else came up for him, so that's all right. I decided, was it Bill Riley? F it, do it live, right? Look, it's just an opportunity for me to talk to you guys about something that is, very, very concerning, honestly. I don't know if you guys are paying attention at all to the hearings that are going on in front of Congress for the ATF director. And you know what? There's a number of issues with the ATF's behavior, even if you're a fan of the ATF and you believe that they're doing good work, and all this other stuff. The issue is the individual who's up in front of Congress has been appointed by the Biden administration to oversee an agency that by its very nature is unconstitutional. But one of the things that was really concerning to me are some of the comments by otherwise really good people. I'm speaking specifically about Wesley Hunt. Wesley Hunt, at about the 1 minute mark on this video, I'll show you. He says something that I believe is very, very important. Let's get into this, and I'll share with you what I'm talking about. Let's see here.
We're almost done, sir. Thank you for being here for a second time. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Basic question, sir. You're an attorney, correct? It's my understanding.
Yes, I am, sir.
So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, knowing that you understand the Constitution, including our Bill of Rights, correct?
I hope so, sir.
So what is your interpretation of our Second Amendment? Do you think that Americans have the right to bear arms? Yes or no? And just give me your brief overall view of it.
Yes, and I think what we do is we look to what the Supreme Court has decided on this. The Supreme Court, Congressman, has been very clear on this. The law is, the Second Amendment jurisprudence is lengthy and changing. But as a lawyer, I don't get to decide that. The courts decide it. And the courts have said, yes, is the answer to your question.
Okay, so we have these Second Amendment rights because...
Sorry, I forgot to turn off the second mic. Audio quality should be better now.
We know how important it is for us to maintain our constitutional republic and a functioning republic because, again, as a gun owner myself, as a lawful gun owner myself, it's very important to me to be able to protect my home and also prevent tyrannical governments from infringing on our rights as human beings bestowed to us in our Constitution.
Okay. All right. If you hear him, and let me be very, very clear. I like Wesley Hunt. I like some of the stuff that he's saying, but he has a fundamental misunderstanding of the Second Amendment in particular and the Bill of Rights in general. What he says here is rights granted to us by our Second Amendment. That is absolutely incorrect, and it represents a deeply flawed understanding of the way the Bill of Rights is set up. The Bill of Rights does not grant us rights. The Constitution does not grant us rights. The entire purpose of these documents is to limit the government and how and take away their ability to infringe upon these rights. This is a critical distinction that many politicians get wrong. But he says some really good stuff in here. Let's continue.
So it's my humble opinion, sir, that the ATF is certainly infringing on a lot of these rules for law-abiding citizens and infringing on our Second Amendment rights for law-abiding citizens. I'm not talking about trying to catch the bad guys that have guns. I am talking about implementing a level of pain on people like me that, quite frankly, was not bestowed to us via the Second Amendment.
Again, he says bestowed to us via the Second Amendment. Fundamentally incorrect. Our rights are God-given. We have them because we were born. We have them because every person, every individual, whatever nomenclature you want to use, right? Every individual has the right to defend themselves from someone attempting to harm them. This is a fundamental right, and the only purpose of the Bill of Rights is to limit government's ability to interfere with these rights.
Unfortunately, as bureaucrats attempting to infringe on the Second Amendment rights, that some lawmakers in Congress, they see gun owner tragedies as an opportunity to slowly chip away at these rights.
Very
So
true.
recently, lawmakers used the heartbreaking Uvalde tragedy as an opportunity to pass red flag legislation. This is a fact. I remember a time when we were told that red flag laws were simply a conspiracy theory. I'm old enough to remember that.
I remember that as
And
well.
they are not a conspiracy theory anymore, sir.
Remember, they're not going to take your guns. Nobody wants to take your guns. Now all we need, and this is why I say Trump is imperfect. He did not stand up to this bullshit when it happened and allowed it to happen. But
red flag laws are in bills and they are in Biden's executive orders. If you don't know what red flags are, in short, red flag laws are a type of pre-crime.
Yeah, we know what red flag laws are. I want to show you one more. He goes on, and like I said, he says some good stuff. If you want to find it, the name of it is Wesley Hunt directly confronts ATF director about efforts by government to disarm our country. But here in particular,
our founding fathers.
Oh,
and rather than take away given to us by take away our Second Amendment rights that have been given to us by our founding fathers.
Again, Second Amendment rights given to us by our founding fathers. He's close. Wrong, but close. Second Amendment, like the entirety of the Bill of Rights, doesn't grant anything at all. It limits the ability of the federal government to take away what you have. Now, I have a couple more videos that I want to show you, but first, let's look up who this guy is, right? Who is director of the ATF? Who is the director of the ATF? His name is Stephen Dettelbach. And I had not heard that name before, so I decided to look it up. If you guys pay attention to my X account, you'll know Stephen Dettelbach. I was like, okay, who is that, right? Whoops. I hate when I hit. You guys ever like go to paste something and accidentally hit Control C instead of Control V again? I do that all the time. So Wikipedia does have its uses, but here's the part that I want to call you guys' attention to right here. It says Dettelbach was born in Cleveland in 1965. His parents, Marcia and Tom Dettelbach, were both prominent attorneys in Cleveland's Jewish community. That's interesting. So he's a lawyer and he's Jewish. And I've noticed, again, for such a small segment of the population, there seems to be a growing number of people of that ethnic, religious, whatever persuasion in various high-level positions in our government. It's a little concerning. Well, more than a little. For those of you who are paying attention, who are noticing, there does seem to be a large number. Outsized representation is something that I call it. Let me get past this ad here, and there is a video that I want you guys to see, and this is really, really interesting to me. It is Harriet Hageman, who is a freshly elected in 2023 Congresswoman. I can't remember exactly where she's from. Let me take a look real quick so I can give you guys accurate information. Missouri, maybe. Let's see. She is. No, I don't want to sign in. Wyoming. I'm sorry. She's from Wyoming. Okay. So this is like 5 minutes. We don't have to play the whole thing, but what it does is it highlights her discussion with this gentleman here, the director of the ATF, and it talks about a digital registry of firearms. In other words, a list. They have your name. If you bought a firearm, they have your name. Now, this guy tries to deny it, but again, she brings the receipts. Check this out. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And again, I think it's it really bears paying attention to, because it is very concerning, in my opinion. Oh, I forgot to unmute it. Sorry.
2021 ATF memo alerted.
Delay from Wyoming's record.
Here we go.
A December 2021 ATF memo alerted the American people that the ATF was maintaining a digital, searchable, centralized registry of guns and gun owners in violation of various federal prohibitions and contrary to what you testified to under oath today.
Now, this is important. There is evidence that a digital searchable registry exists, which is contrary to what you have said under oath. In other words, you lied to Congress. Now, remember, they arrested people for this if they were in the Trump administration, right? But Fauci can do it. This dipshit can do it. As long as you're Democrats, the rules don't apply.
In response, Representative Michael Cloud and 52 House members sent the ATF a letter dated November 22nd, 2021.
Oh, and one thing that I want to say before moving on, because I forgot to mention this, and I think it's important. Mr. Wesley Hunt is not an attorney. He's actually a veteran, which makes it all the more concerning that he doesn't truly know that rights are not granted by our government, but protected by the Second Amendment and the rest of the Bill of Rights. Mr. Hunt, I really like you. You need to educate yourself a little further, sir.
ATF responded to that letter stating that it had 920,664,765 records, 865,787 and 86,000 of which are in a digitalized format, which gun owners
over 800 million records of you and me, period.
of America has
Digital
proved to be
format.
searchable. This was
Gun Owners of America proved that this database is searchable.
discovered shortly after ATF was revealed to have processed over 54 million records in a single year. What is the latest record count for ATF's illegal digital searchable national gun registry?
Pay attention to the obfuscation.
0. We obey the law.
According
We do
to your
not,
letter,
on none of our
according to
records.
your letter, you have over 865 millions of these records are in digitalized format. You have admitted it.
She rocks, by the way. I like
Respectfully,
her, even for an attorney.
we are, I think ATF is the only customer of Adobe Acrobat that
Well, let's
pays
get
money to
into that.
remove search function.
Before the
to
Commerce, Justice, Science Subcommittee of the Appropriations Committee in April of last year, you testified that ATF pays Adobe Acrobat Extra to have certain search functionality eliminated.
That's not correct.
Well, is ATF's digital database of gun owner records capable of being opened by normal Adobe Acrobat and searched by name?
Again, we
It's
pay.
a
we
yes or
pay-
no question. Is it?
Answer the question,
we
dude.
pay to have search function eliminated. We don't pay Adobe Acrobat, I believe. We
If
pay somebody
ATF
else. But
If ATF asked, could Adobe Acrobat re-enable name search functionality on ATF's illegal gun registry?
it is not an illegal registry. We do not
If
search
ATF
by. We do not
asked-
search.
It's not an illegal registry, except Congress has declared that you can't have a registry, and we have one.
We do not search in the method that you're suggesting,
But-
and we cannot.
We don't actually search it the way you think we do. We do it a different way. It gets better, guys, because there's a particular part towards the end of the video that I think is really, really
And these are records that we pay a public safety cost, which Congress to
ATF
balance for this
asked-
decision.
If
which is
ATF
in-
asked,
Listen, I
could
love
Adobe Acrobat re-enable name search functionality on ATF's illegal gun registry?
I'm not an expert in Adobe Acrobat coding. I do know.
Remember, this is the guy who could not identify what a so-called assault weapon is. He's also not an expert on Adobe. I'm curious exactly what he's an expert on.
That we do not keep a gun registry. I also
You have
know
records- You have admitted that you have over 920 million records, over 865 million of which are in digitalized format, correct?
The question, if your answer is, are they somehow scanned in so that we literally don't have to have 950 million pieces of paper? That is a lot different from what you're implying with respect to having a gun registry.
Is
It is
it?
also true, Congressman, that we don't have any records of firearms purchases
Let me ask
for
this
people
question.
who are still in business, which is the vast majority of currently
You
sold
also-
firearms. We have zero.
You also testified before that subcommittee that ATF's digital database of gun and gun owners is not capable of being searched by personal identifier. Can ATF's gun registry be searched by make, model, and serial number, enough searchability to create a list of, say, all AR-15 owners?
The answer to your question is we do not create, use, search,
not
get
answering my
around the
question.
registry.
He will not answer.
You're
Listen.
not answering my question.
Your question had, respectfully, it was a technical question with
It's a
5 or 6
technical
different parts.
Can
I'm
the
trying not to
registry be
erroneously, as you said, I'm under oath, I'm trying not to erroneously misstate things of tech.
I'm trying not to get caught, is what it boils down to. I'm trying not to get caught.
Technical nature. We do not keep a registry. We use these things
Keep
for
documents.
pending homicide investigations. It takes us a lot longer to find the name of the killer.
Mr. Dettelbach, you have mentioned gun running and gun violence associated with Mexican cartels and the crime associated with that. In fact, you refer to the cartels as, quote, the most dangerous organizations in the world.
This is the part. Pay attention, right? According to the ATF director, cartels, specifically gun running cartels and human trafficking cartels, are the most dangerous organizations out there
In
in the
How many
world.
conversations have you had with President Biden or Secretary Mayorkas demanding that they close the southern border?
How many conversations? Pretty simple. Have you gone to Biden and said, look, you got to close the border because these cartels are they're dangerous?
We do not,
How
ATF
many
does not.
discussions have you had with President Biden or Mayorkas about closing the southern border?
The answer to your question is,
Zero.
we work with DHS
How many
on
conversations have
border-related.
you had with them demanding that they close the southern border?
Again.
It's a simple question.
Again, I have may I answer?
How many conversations have you had
We
demanding?
discuss.
May I answer? She's not interrupting him. She's saying, how many conversations have you had? It's a very, very simple question. The answer, of course, being zero. They won't admit that. They won't say, look, the ATF doesn't really care. We care about taking firearms away from, law-abiding people. We care about murdering innocent people in their homes, in the case of the Clinton airport director, Malinowski, which we'll talk about in just a moment as soon as we finish this video.
Our border-related security issues with DHS frequently. I have had
Have you
conversations
demanded
with
that they
Secretary
close the
Mayorkas
southern
about
border?
our efforts.
Have you
to try and-
demanded that they close the southern border?
I'm at ATF. It is not our jurisdiction to police the southern border. That's for DHS, Congresswoman.
You don't.
They don't care. They don't truly care about the source of the crime at all. What they care about is ensuring that someone like Malinowski, who, my understanding, right? I've looked into this case, and my understanding is the guy sold a couple of guns, right, at a gun show. Guns he legally possessed. And let's bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, and I have another video for you here in a few minutes. But let's bear in mind that this guy is allegedly the head of the organization that's supposed to, by default, right? Their obligation is to protect your rights. That's the entire purpose of government, remember? That's what it's supposed to be. Let me show you something here. And this really highlights what I'm talking about. Again, a flawed
Drinking coffee every day didn't work for me, but
silence. What's that? The guy, silence, I kill you. Right. Which is a joke It's a joke, YouTube. It's from a comedy skit. Relax. Here exactly is what I'm talking about. This is Chip Roy, who has been kind of a rock star to a degree lately, but listen to this.
My
I'd like to
reaction
make money.
is not indicative of engaging in the business.
What if I have just 12? What if I have 12,
we
15, or 20 weapons and I sell 3 over the course of a year?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So here's what's going on, right? What Chip Roy is asking, if I do this or this or this, right? Is it legal? Is it not legal? And this guy cannot give a straight answer. Why? Because the ATF has made navigating their legalities almost impossible for the average American. Now, remember, this guy is an attorney. He's a lawyer. He's supposed to know the law. And bear in mind, also, ladies and gentlemen, as we've been told time after time by judge after judge, ignorance of the law is no excuse. What's some of this?
I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
I'm just saying, if I have about 50, let's assume I had 15 or 20 weapons and I wanted to sell
So
3 over the course of a year.
I think my
I'd like to
reaction,
make money on
my
it.
reaction to what you're saying is that you look at it's very clear that you look at the totality of the circumstances. We can go through an endless series of hypotheticals. Hypotheticals aren't the way we
You
address
understand,
cases.
and I realize them over my time. Do you understand why the average citizen sitting out there saying I've got 400 pages of rulemaking might not understand what they are allowed to do under the law when the director of the ATF can't look at a member of Congress and tell me yes or no emphatically whether or not if I sell a weapon or 2 weapons or 3 weapons or 5, whether or not I need a license?
Bingo. Bingo. The director of the ATF himself cannot give a clear and concise answer on whether the questions that Representative Roy presented to him qualified as legal or non-lawful transactions. And if he can't answer that question, how the hell is the average citizen supposed to know? They don't want you to know. They really, really don't. And this, again, is an example of the way that government has just been twisted. It's no longer performing the purpose that it was intended for, right? But I want to show you guys something else in the meantime. And this is really, 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 really important to me and very interesting. Let me get to it because here it is. Have you guys paid attention to the Libertarian Convention that happened? So it was really, really wild. Donald Trump, for the first time, I guess, at least to my knowledge, this is the first time a president, former president, whatever, a actually presidential candidate has gone to an opposing party's convention and spoke, right? Now, the media, of course, is painting this as, oh, Trump got booed. And yes, there was actually a part of, let's see here. There was a time during the convention when Trump was booed. I'm not going to put the audio in this because it's going to reverb. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about, though, here. It says here, rightful President Trump just won the hearts of Libertarian Convention after vowing to commute Ross Ulbricht's prison sentence. He got a standing ovation at the Libertarian Party, right? But one thing that he did say, if you guys go and watch the video, he says, maybe if you don't want to win, keep getting your 3% every 4 years. Boom, there you go. Total Chad move. And I do agree with that. That was from Bowtied Ranger at Bowtied Ranger. This here, Boo Loudon, was the first one that I talked about. But Charlie Kirk tells them they can either keep getting 3% of the vote every 4 years or they back him and become winners. So I have a number of friends who are libertarians. And before I get to that, though, I want to tell you, I saw a video where there was someone screaming and holding up signs and yelling, all kinds of crazy stuff about Trump, and they removed them from the convention. And during the removal of this individual, it could be heard, "We want Trump. We want Trump," at the Libertarian Convention. Now, why is that interesting? So I have some here in Indiana, right? We had an individual who ran for governor. His name is Donald Rainwater, and he ran for governor, and he did better than any like third party candidate has ever done. I'm going to bring up let's see here. To election, Indiana. Let's get the actual numbers because I want to see the exact numbers. See, that's funny because I put 2022 in and it's jumping to 2024. I don't want 2024. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get the I'm working on it. There we go. Okay, I think I can find it. All right, maybe not. Anyway, I don't know exactly what he got, but it was the. Well, let me try one more time to find it. All right, here we go. Maybe I can get this. If I click on him, it should take me back to 2020, hopefully. There we go. All right. Yes. All right. So he got 11.4% of the vote. Sorry for the delay. Let me get this up here for you just so you can see here. Why is that important, right? Well, for one, he did the very best that a third-party candidate has ever done. As you can see right here, 11.4%. Now, allegedly, Holcomb did, phenomenally, but who knows? We know what really is happening. But the reason I bring this up at all is because I believe that libertarians are kind of getting caught up in the weeds on little stuff, right? They'll point to Trump's bump stock ban. They'll point to Trump's red flag laws, and they'll say, he's not a libertarian. No, he's not. He's not a libertarian. And I have my own issues with some of the things Trump has done, especially some of the people he's brought into his administration, some of the people that he's appointed. He's appointed a few really good people, and he also, in my opinion, dropped the ball in some cases. But why did Trump speak at the Libertarian Convention? And more importantly, why are some not recognizing that as the big deal that it is? I believe that Trump is speaking to these people and showing them what more people need to understand, that you can get caught up in the tiny little details, that he's not a real libertarian with a capital L, or he's not this, or he's not that. Or the libertarians can unite behind Trump, who is the single best opportunity that we have to restore some degree of function to our government. Or they can keep being happy with the 3% or whatever percentage that they get. Let's tune in here because I want to show you the remarks here because I think it's really good. Very, very, very interesting. He also said that he was going to make sure and include a libertarian in his cabinet, right? In his advisors. Now, let's see here. Let me get this one because I want to show you guys a few more of the remarks, because the media isn't going to share it with you. I will. The media won't. Let's go back here and dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Check this out. Right. Think about that. Yes, he got booze at this part. Look at him laugh. Yep. Yep. Vote for Trump. Listen. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Listen. Ooh. Listen to me. That is the single best deal that they are going to get. Libertarian friends of mine that are watching this, I think you guys should support this. I really, really do, because this is the single best chance the Libertarian Party has of actually making a difference, of actually being part of the administration of this country. Listen. Yeah. 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 Look, I get it. Trump is unconventional. He says some stuff, right? Let's be honest. He's said some stuff that's like, right. Wife and I talk about this all the time. You know, why does he have to do this? Why does he have to be on Twitter? Why does he have to? No, 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 no. And like I told her, look, and I've talked with Sean about it, who's been here in the studio. I used to be right there with you. I used to be oh man, why doesn't he just stay off of Twitter? Why doesn't he just govern? Why doesn't he? I'm all for it now. I'm all for it. You know, I am very much a fan of these people, Biden, lawfare, all this stuff, all the attacks. No. Trump needs to just be Trump, and that's just the way that it is. I am all for some of the more esoteric uses of social media. Let's say that the more interesting uses of social media with Donald J. Trump. It is a very interesting dynamic happening right now. And I want to show you guys something. Kennedy has been eliminated from the Libertarian. This is an hour ago from Nick Sorter. Robert Kennedy Jr. has been eliminated from the race to be the Libertarian nominee for president. RFK Jr. put his name on the ballot, and he only got 2% of the vote. 2.07% of the vote. It looks like 19 people. I'm just going to tell you, Kennedy is not a libertarian. He is farther from a libertarian than Donald Trump is by a lot. He is not. No. Here we go. This is another excerpt, right, from the convention. And it shows that the media reporting of this convention was not honest at all. At all.
Is not to wage.
Here.
We believe that the job of the United States military is not to wage endless regime change wars around the globe, senseless war.
Listen.
The job of the United States military is to defend America from attack and invasion here at home.
Exactly. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, my libertarian friends, this is your chance. This is your chance to be a huge part of a new administration. And here's another excerpt that I think people should really pay attention to, because there's some nut jobs in every political spectrum, in every part of the political spectrum, from left to right and in between. There are some very, very yikes type people. First, let me show you guys where I'm getting my information from. Right here is George at Behezy Tweets. That's George. It's at Behezy Tweets. It says, wow, following a huge clash between Trump supporters and Libertarian Party members on the convention floor, popular libertarian Dave Smith just set the record straight. Quote, we are not a bunch of college leftist sissies. We believe in free speech, so be respectful. Check this out.
Hey, there are members of the Libertarian Party, and there are people who came here to support Donald Trump. Listen. I have a message for both of you individually. I hear you. To the members of the Libertarian Party, which I am also one. Guys, listen, here's my message to the libertarians here. The former president of the United States of America and the current frontrunner to be the next president is here to talk to you.
Yes.
We are not a bunch of college leftist sissies. We believe in free speech. So be respectful.
Yes. Mad respect for this guy. Well done.
I'm not telling you have to agree with him, and I'm not telling you have to cheer for him.
Right.
But we're not having like Jordan Peterson at Berkeley event here. And the message we're sending to the world is not that we can't handle ideas that we disagree with.
Thank you, my man.
We are libertarians. We are constantly surrounded by ideas that we disagree with. We're in Washington, D.C., for God's sake.
Right? Thank you. And that's really what it comes down to, is have a discussion. It's something I say all the time on this show. We can't even talk anymore without people losing their minds and going crazy. It's so frustrating. Let me show you one more thing here, because I think this is really important. Here we go. Let me get this up here. And again, this is back to the Malinowski, the ATF director testifying. And there's some very interesting moments in this video. There's a reason that I chose to highlight it here and to talk to you, because just let's get into it and we'll talk about it in just a moment.
I believe with us today, Ms. Malinowski. If you're out there, would you please stand? I'd like to recognize you, Ms. Malinowski. First name is Mayor. Director, would you like to stand up and look at her and apologize?
Now, this is the woman of, or excuse me, the wife. This woman is the wife of Mr. Malinowski, who was straight up assassinated by the ATF when they went to his home to serve a search warrant. Now, again, why were they there? What was this search warrant for? Was it for supplying terrorists? No. Was it for trying to smuggle uranium? Nope. Was it for insurrection-y type stuff? Nope. It was because he sold a couple of firearms at a couple of gun shows, something that every American is entitled to do. Absolutely entitled to do. So they went to his home. Let me give you the background if you haven't been paying attention, or if you're not sure exactly what happened, because the media tries to alter the facts a lot. So days before this occurred, all these agents, they play the footage. All these agents gathered together in a Walmart parking lot in order to facilitate the serving of a search warrant. Now, this is a search warrant, not an arrest warrant, a search warrant. They wanted to search his property to look for evidence, right? It's the purpose of a search warrant. A judge will say, okay, yeah, it looks like you might have some probable cause here, but in order to allow you to arrest a man or woman, you're going to need a little more evidence. So what I do think is, I think there's evidence that there might be something at his home that you could use as evidence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a search warrant. I'm going to let you go and search his home. Now, days before this incident happened, they had actually gathered to serve the search warrant, but decided not to serve said search warrant because the man was not home. Now, remember, they can serve this search warrant when no one's home. Why did they choose not to? That's a very, very interesting thing. They also did not wear body cams, despite it being policy. Let's listen in to what this man says to the wife of the man that his agency executed.
I've already said, of course, whenever these things happen, it's a tragedy. Of course, we're sorry. Everybody is sorry that this occurred.
Yeah, look at her. Don't look at me.
It doesn't mean that I'm trying to also speak into the microphone. It doesn't mean that we can adjudicate this here today. There's an investigation going on. But of course, everybody, and everybody feels bad. I'm sure that a federal agent was shot, not shot at, shot.
Yeah, he was shot in the foot. A man was executed, and this dipshit's opportunity to speak to the widow that they executed is to lament the fact that a federal agent was shot in the foot. Her husband's dead. This guy, and it goes deeper than this, ladies and gentlemen. You know it does. This is all connected. All connected. What's his background again?
That day. Those things are hard facts for all of us.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to enter something into the record. Your testimony, you say guns are the leading cause of death for children in the U.S. Not according to Snoops. It's a far left publication. It is traffic crashes. Could I have that entered into
Without
the record?
objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much.
So again, this guy said, oh, it's guns that kill little kids, right? No, it's not. It's traffic fatalities. Even Snow, he called it Snoops, but even Snopes says that. When even Snopes calls you a liar.
So very much. I was a sheriff, 8 years, as in law enforcement, 30, conducted a lot of search warrants. My agency, I would not allow for no knocks, just didn't allow it because what we've seen over the past several years, when you have these SWAT teams looking like ninjas coming to doors at 6 o'clock in the morning, it just could cause some problems. You stated in your testimony just a few minutes ago, 11,000 of these a year. Very dangerous, very dangerous.
11,000 30,000 no-knock warrants executed a year by the ATF. Does anybody else see a problem with that? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're supposed to be a nation of laws and a nation of innocent until proven guilty and a nation of the Second Amendment enshrining our right to keep and bear arms.
Done with very experienced agents, right? What policies do you have when you are going to execute search warrants, arrest warrants to mitigate risk? Mitigate risk.
Yeah. So, Congressman, first of all, we do a very, very thorough job of training, which is, of course, as you know, as a sheriff, very important. Second,
and that's something that I want to highlight as well. Who's doing the training? What training are they receiving? I have seen some very, very disturbing videos recently of the so-called training sessions that these officers and agents receive. I believe that the training should be foundational constitutional law, i.e., what are you guys allowed to do? And what are the public? What are their rights? It's critically important. Instead, I find that, IDF forces are training our police forces in tactics, battle tactics. They're turning our agencies and our police departments into essentially armed security for governmental overreach. It sounds like the very reason why the founding fathers enshrined certain rights.
we have operations planning. We have review of the operation.
Executing a search, well, thank you. Executing a search warrant pre-dawn, early in the morning, knowing people are going to be in bed. How does that mitigate risk? Especially when you do it and it's a no-knock.
So Congressman, as a former sworn sheriff, I assume you would agree with me that police are entitled to due process also.
I tell you what it appears to me is what I've seen from the federal government, whether it's ATF or the FBI, doing search warrants or arrest warrants on J6ers, going in there with flashbangs, with the big Bearcats. I had a Bearcat. I know what it is. And having agents come out looking like they're ninja turtles for combat. I think not only are you scaring the hell out of the entire neighborhood, but when you kick down or break.
And not only are you scaring the entire neighborhood, but how many instances have we seen where they go to the wrong address? We just had an active duty serviceman executed in his home for a law enforcement officer going to the wrong address. It happens all the time.
Break down a door and you don't even announce who you are. What do you think is going to happen? This was Mr.
Exactly. What do you think is going to happen when you break in the door? You're not telling people what you're doing, who you are, that you're a governmental law enforcement agency. The man's just trying to defend his family.
Malinowski there to try to protect his family. He didn't know. If you would have called him, sir, had a casual conversation, were you aware that he had no criminal history?
Sheriff?
I just want to ask a question. Are you aware, did you know the gentleman had no criminal history? No prior?
Am I aware sitting here?
Yes. Were you aware of it?
In firearms trafficking cases, in people who are dealing without a license and buying
I'm sure there are a lot of bad hombres out there.
Would not have a criminal.
I'm trying to focus on Mr. Malinowski. Were you personally aware that he didn't have a criminal history?
Again, I'm trying to answer your question directly.
Obviously, it's quite clear you weren't. It's quite clear you weren't. And I want to talk about mitigating risk, but were your agents wearing body cameras that day?
Again, I've tried to say this. I'd like a chance to answer this. The entire field division that covers Arkansas had not yet been phased in.
You have a budget.
Listen.
Try to convince the American people you don't have the do-re-mi to put body cameras on your agents that are conducting 11,000 warrants. These are dangerous. You've got 11,000 of them out there, and you had a budget last year of $1.672 billion with a B.
1.672, just say 1.6 billion dollars is their budget, but they couldn't afford body cams. They couldn't afford body cams. You know, I call bullshit. They didn't want body cams. They didn't wear body cams because they knew their ass was doing something they shouldn't be.
And you're telling me, I'm sorry, folks, I can't provide this transparency to the American people. I can't because I don't have the budget to do so. The American people, there's a problem right now.
But they damn sure don't mind buying up firearms and ammunition, do they? As a matter of fact, governmental agencies have bought so much ammunition recently that the prices are skyrocketing for you and me.
With law enforcement out there. And I have the picture and the image of every law enforcement officer that's been killed in the past 3.5 years. And there's way too many. There's way too many on my wall.
We agree.
And so we have body-worn cameras. And why do we do that? Because there is a lack of trust between the police and the communities they serve. So when you provide these cameras, there's no he said, she said. It's all on record. And you didn't have your body cameras on that day. I'm telling you, it stinks to high heaven. I highly recommend you cooperate with this committee and you try to explain, other than this, I don't have the money to do so and I'm phasing it in. Buddy, you got to get your priorities, reshuffle your priorities and get your priorities in order. And I highly recommend you get body cameras on every one of those individuals that are searching these warrants, because it seems like there's a cover up here.
Bingo. That's it right there. It seems like there's a cover up there. Now, one of the things that I have found is the appearance of impropriety is enough. It doesn't actually have to have a cover up. It can just look like one. And the American people rightly are going to say, no, absolutely not. That is not okay. This is happening far too often. And again, unfortunately, there are some very concerning parallels that are happening here. As far as the libertarians and Donald Trump, I hope they make the right decision. I think it would be very interesting to see them nominate him. You know, are they going to? Probably not. But I think it's their best opportunity. I really do. And you know what? There are more. Let me actually let me show you guys this, because I believe this is. Yeah. Okay. So major libertarian group endorses Trump. Here it is. Let me get you guys the link. I'll show you. This is, again, Bo Loudon on X. There we go. There we go. All right. So it says here, I am voting for Donald Trump. First time ever voting for a Republican. Been LP before. He's always voted Libertarian Party, but now, unfortunately for the Libertarians who are not on board, the Libertarians themselves are seeming, so I guess apparently some squeaky rubber chickens were passed out. There's all kinds of wild stuff that happened at that convention. Here, let me show you. So Trump supporters have seized priority Libertarian convention seating and are refusing to vacate their seats. The squeaky rubber chickens RFK Jr. has been passing out to sabotage have been banned from the ballroom. What, like, all of this is just silly. If you won't give someone the opportunity to speak, right? If you won't talk, if you won't let someone talk, then, you know, I really wonder if you are a true libertarian with an L, right? Because that's supposed to be the foundation of libertarianism. Not just free speech, but free action, right? To allow people to make up their own minds because the ideas themselves will win out. So here is wrong one. This is from at Ben. Let me make sure I get this right. At BEN, or sorry, that's an H. BEHIZY. Behizy tweets. George, what you were watching with Trump's speech at the Libertarian Convention is the art of the deal in real life. Let me zoom in here because I can barely read that. There we go. That wasn't a speech. That was a high IQ negotiation by Trump. He didn't go up there expecting to be loved. He went up there to get something for himself, knowing he had to give them something in return. Trump had at least 2 leverage cards in his back pocket that would be pulled at the right moments. He crafted his speech around typical libertarian talking points and did not allow the boos to deter him. In fact, those libertarians now look incredibly odd for booing what seems to be their own talking points. He didn't react to the crowd's booing right off. He kept his eyes on getting to the first point, but he made them work and wait to hear it. Right as the booing was reaching its climax, he told them he needed their vote. Of course, they booed. But he told them he would appoint a libertarian in his cabinet. Now, how hypocritical would it be for a libertarian to not want that? That definitely shut some people up, but not all. Next, he went a step further by asking them to make him their presidential nominee. But was that really a joke or just more high IQ play? After that, he told them they couldn't win without him. Now he has introduced the concept of winning in their minds. For that crowd, winning was getting Ross Ulbricht freed. Their posters had nothing to do with winning an election. The place was filled with free Ross banners and chants. Trump must have recognized this before the convention and made it his big card. After putting everything in place for the big ask, he simply said, "If you vote for me, I will free Ross Ulbricht." And the crowd that had been booing him erupted in cheers. Trump knew exactly what that meant for them. He put the ball back into their hands. He's giving them what they want, free Ross, if they choose to give him what he wants, votes. The Art of the Deal by Donald. And that really just sums it up right there. The Art of the Deal, Donald Trump knows what he's doing by appealing to the libertarians. And I'd be interested to see how this shakes out. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to I don't know if they're going to look for him or vote for him, I mean, but okay, he got eliminated. That's okay, because you know what? One thing that's going to happen is their candidate, whomever it is. I don't know who any of these people are. Let's take a look here. Here, I'll show you what the actual voting thing looks like, so that we can take a look. I don't know if it's over. This obviously this account is going to celebrate the fact that Trump lost. It's called Trump L's, for God's sake. But let's see here. So it looks like again, other than Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who I've heard of, I don't see anyone that I know on here. None of the names are familiar to me. None of these people, mark my words, none of these people are going to be elected for president of the United States. It's just not going to happen. And that this is not some big, great revelation. You guys know this. Libertarians, if you are happy with your, 3%, then go for it. I have some very, very good libertarian friends. One of them greatly appreciates Donald Trump. One of them detests Donald Trump, but I really do believe that was their best shot. Hold on. Wait. Denali the cat? Who the hell is Denali the cat? Write in Stormy Daniels? What the hell? Toad? See, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is why nobody takes the Libertarian Party seriously. This right here. Write in Stormy Daniels. Write in Denali the cat. What the write in Afro Man. Write in Ben Dover. One vote. One vote. This is why nobody takes the Libertarian Party seriously, and it's why you guys are not going to win. I cannot understand the thinking here that I genuinely don't understand how you could look at that and boy. It's really, really. And here's Trump. Trump actually addresses this, and he makes a good point. Let me bring this up. He didn't actually file paperwork to be on the ballot there because he can't, right? It says here, yeah, blah, 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 blah. They didn't boo him nonstop. There were actually multiple instances like I've shown you of them cheering for him. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter to me. Trump's going to win without your help. Libertarians, that's just how it is. But Trump says the reason I didn't file paperwork for the Libertarian nomination, which I would have absolutely gotten if I wanted it, as everyone could tell by the enthusiasm of the crowd last night, was the fact that as the Republican nominee, I am not allowed to have the nomination of another party. Regardless, I believe I will get a majority of the Libertarian votes. Junior Kennedy is a radical left Democrat who's destroyed everything he's touched, especially in New York and New England, and in particular as it relates to the cost and practicality of energy. He's not a libertarian. Only a fool would vote for him. And I will agree there, he is not a libertarian. As a matter of fact, RFK Jr. said that if an assault weapons ban makes it to my desk, if elected, obviously, then I would sign it. That's wholeheartedly against the entire premise of the libertarian so-called rules, right? The things that they want. Yeah, look, it's so silly. You guys just, it's really, really sad that you guys would take this opportunity to be a part of the next administration. But it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. I don't know. I don't know, guys. You guys are my libertarian friends. If you guys went to the convention here, wow. Like you blew it, in my opinion. But let me show you one more thing, and then we'll call it quits. It says this is from Bradley J at Bradley A J with an E, Jaye. So at Bradley A Jaye. Thoughts from the ground on Trump's speech tonight to libertarians. Hit all the right notes without resorting to pandering. Typical elite humor, telling them they can endorse him or keep losing with 3%. Boldly entered borderline unfriendly territory, but gave crowd enough for Ross to win more support than he had going in. The speech was a definite triumph for Trump. Was it a triumph? I don't know. I think that I think they made some real mistakes here. It's who knows? This person says at the end of the night, Trump left with more support than he entered with, which has a significant ramifications for how libertarians will vote in November. That is a major success, and maybe it is. Let me show you here. There's some interesting conversation here happening. Oop, there we go. Because this guy said, why did they keep booing a triumph? You guys didn't think that like the libertarians we're going to just stand up and all vote for him, right? There are individuals that consider themselves libertarians who are perfectly okay with allowing the government to tax us to death so that they can fight so-called climate change, because more taxes can change the weather, ladies and gentlemen. It says here, as I said, Trump spoke to a borderline hostile crowd, some of whom would never vote for him and who would prefer to vote for someone who would never win more than 3 to 4%. And that's the key. At the end of the night, Trump left with more support than he entered with, which has significant ramifications for how libertarians will vote in November. That is a major, major success. Says libertarians will have a more free society with Trump than voting for their own candidate. It's just a fact. 80% of the country do not want an open border and see taxes redistributed to foreigners. Unfortunately, that's true. And you know, I've had some people on the show, libertarians, who have addressed this open border myth. You have those who say they identify as libertarians who are open borders, right? But your more reasoned and intelligent libertarians simply want to be left alone. The government has to have, our nation has to have strong borders. Donald Rainwater, that's one of the reasons why Donald Rainwater got 11% versus 2 or 3%. And he's running again in 2024 for governor. Is he going to beat Braun? I hope. Look, I don't know, man. I don't know. I see some very, very concerning things happening in the Braun campaign. This Julie McGuire thing, I feel, was a huge misstep, unless, of course, it was calculated. Calculated by whom? That's for a different video, but it is something that I think we should get into, because I think there's a high degree of analysis that needs to happen here. We have Micah Beckwith, right, who represents a return to our Christian roots and the belief that in order to have a functioning, proper government, it should have a basis in Christian morals. I don't disagree there. He was on the show. It was a very, very good conversation that we had. He made some really, really good points, and I urge you guys to watch it. But I am a delegate. Wife's a delegate. We're going to go down to Indy here, and but before then, we're going to learn all that we can about Julie McGuire. We're going to listen to what she has to say. I've invited her to come onto the show. Crickets and the clink of silverware. I've also invited Mike Braun to come onto my show and have a discussion. Crickets and the clink of silverware. It's sad. It's sad because unfortunately, we don't know enough about McGuire. She's only been in office since they spent $500,000. You know, the state GOP, right? So Indiana Republican Party spent $500,000 on Julie McGuire's campaign in order to unseat John Jacobs. If you guys don't know who John Jacobs is, he was a representative in, I forget the exact region that he was from, but you guys can look it up. Anyway, he was very, very religious. Okay. He was kind of stunty for my taste. Like he wore this, like lab coat covered in fake blood, to protest abortion and just stuff like that. He went a little far, in my opinion. But the important takeaway there is that the establishment hated him. I mean, hated his guts. And they did everything they could to get rid of him, including redistricting, right? And dropping $500,000 into a campaign on this Julie McGuire lady in order to get rid of John Jacobs. Why? Because They did not like what he had to say or what he represented at all. Now, this individual, Julie McGuire, is Braun's new running mate. The individual who they poured tons, $500,000 into her campaign, she's now running for lieutenant governor. Otherwise, she came out of nowhere. She has no real political history. Where'd she come from? Who is she? These are questions that we're going to get into. I would like to give honestly, I would like to give her the opportunity to come onto the show so that we can talk about it. We'll see whether they take the opportunity, but so far, I do not have a reason to vote for her over Micah Beckwith. I just don't. And that is the general consensus that I'm receiving from at least our, what I call the Patriot group, the individuals that are more interested in freedom than governmental control, the people that are against things like the state government taking over our boards of health. All these things are going on. We're going to have some people on the show to expose that and show you guys what's happening. In the meantime, I hope you have a good day. And look, we need to pay very, very, very close attention to what's happening in our government, ladies and gentlemen. We need to be aware, because without being aware, we certainly can't counteract it. That's just the way that it is. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of people awake, still a lot of people asleep. We're getting more and more that are awake. What the numbers are, I don't know, but do not let them tell you that you're not the majority. Of that, I wholeheartedly believe. We, the people of the United States that insist that our rights are sovereign and the government should be protected from us, in other words, limited in the way that they can infringe, those are the majority. I truly, truly believe that. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting election. I really do. There was this kind of an aside for a moment. My buddy, he's the vice president of a 3%er motorcycle club. And he's been on the show a couple of times. We do a show called Coffee Break on Wednesday mornings. He was reached out to by a reporter who wants to do a story on the 3%er movement, right? So they said, okay, all right, yeah, we'll do it. It's going to be coming out pretty soon. I'll share it with you guys once I get an opportunity to see it. But one of the things that this so-called reporter, this interviewer, kept harping on over and over and over was, well, what about the election? What about the election? What about the election? Right? But one of the things that he said that I think was very, very interesting, and it stuck with me, which is why I want to tell you about it. He said, no matter which way the election goes, you're going to have a decent portion of the population that is very upset. So no matter which way it goes, there are going to be some people who are unhappy. What do you think is going to happen? And I want you to really think about that for a moment, because we saw what happened in 2020, right? We see what's happening now all along this, right? The lawfare, the constant overreach, the constant open borders. Look, I predict that we're going to see overwhelming support for Trump. Unfortunately, there are still people that just cannot get past their orange man bad, their absolute hatred for the man because of what they've been told on television, because they've been told he's a Russian spy, he's a this, he's a that, right? Does he do some stuff I disagree with? Absolutely. Absolutely. We've talked about that many times, but he is the only candidate running who gives a damn about the freedoms that we have. Look, Resident Ice Cream, Biden, has consistently and overwhelmingly shown us that A, he's not in control, but more importantly, that he doesn't give a damn about you. Hell, he doesn't even care about his own voters. He doesn't care about the people who's the far left individuals, right? Who say they're all about the so-called modern interpretation of the Democratic Party, right? The open borders, the this, the that. He doesn't even care about them because he is welcoming in criminals. Not only being welcomed, but they're being paid with your money, my money. RG10 says, make America great again. Absolutely. That's what it's all about. And the fact that they have turned Make America Great Again into some kind of terroristic anti-American chant should tell you all exactly how much deception and obfuscation is going on here. When Make America Great Again, it's a pretty simple slogan, right? When you can take that and convince people somehow that that is a white nationalist, far right conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat loving type of statement. Are you serious? That's the level of ridiculousness we've gotten to. It genuinely is concerning. But it's at the same time, it's very revealing, because if you pay attention, like I showed you at the beginning of the live, if you pay attention to who's running things, who is set up as various advisors and set up as various heads of these several agencies. ATF is one. It's just an example. Pay attention. Pay attention to who they are, who their background is, who are all the advisors to the president, how are they connected? What do they believe? Pay attention. Because America is controlled. Make no mistake about it. America is controlled by a percentage-wise, very, very small portion of the population. Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. Hashtag Wake Up America, right? We need to be aware, because if we're not paying attention, if we're not looking, that's how all this happened in the first place, because you and I were too busy busting our asses to pay for food, to take care of our family, to pay for this exorbitant ass rent, to pay for our ballooning mortgage payments. You know, listen, my wife got a Kia Soul. When we got it, we got a really good APR. We bought it a few years ago when luckily the APR was low, right? My son is actually working now at the Kia dealership, and he's like, they want your car, right? Because she's got I think it's like a 2021 Kia Soul GT. They can't get any of the GT models. They want it because it's used, and it's got I guess it's got decent miles on it, but it's a GT model, right? And we actually looked, she's like, yeah, maybe it's time to look into getting another one. The APR is so astronomical now that for the same type of deal, if we were to like turn around and get another car, we'd be looking at almost double the car payment of what we're looking at now. Double. The house across the street, right? So let's see here. Probably about 6 or 7 years ago, there was a house in my neighborhood that sold for $45,000, because it's a fairly, it's a fairly unpretentious neighborhood. It was created in the 1970s as HUD housing, right? Starter homes. There's nothing wrong with that. Fairly small, nice fenced-in backyard, decent front yard, pretty standard little American suburban neighborhood. Now, the house across the street, it's actually kind of smaller than my house, is I think it's like $120,000+. So it's 3 times what it was. Listen, if your hate for Donald Trump is blinding you, if you're going to vote for Resident Ice Cream again because you hate Donald J. Trump so much, I want you to really, really stop and think. Forget about the open borders just for a moment, right? Look at what you are sentencing your children and grandchildren to. Your children and grandchildren are not going to be able to own a home. If Biden gets in again, look, if Resident Ice Cream continues his current track, we're not going to be able to, this generation, home ownership is going to become a thing of the past. We're all going to drive older, probably cheap cars. And that's another thing. Are cheap cars even a thing anymore? I remember I used to have, beater cars, right? It was a common thing when you're, a teenager, your first couple of cars, you go get, a $200, $300, $400, maybe $500 car and you drive it till it falls apart and then you buy another one. I had a buddy who made he made a lifestyle out of this. He would set a budget, right, of like $1,000. That's it, $1,000 for his car that he would pay usually about $500. He'd scour until he found a $500 car. And then he would set his repair maximum at $500. So whatever he paid for the car, if he paid $750, he wouldn't put any more into the car than he paid for it. And if he would exceed that, if any repairs would exceed that, he would just get rid of it and get another one for the same price. He did this for years. You can't do that anymore. Like, my son bought a car. He got a really good deal on it, but it's still going to need work. And unfortunately, just doing the tie rods and the front end was over $1,000. Everything is so ridiculously expensive. They showed, what was it? I'm trying to think of exactly what it was, but they showed the income level that you need now to be, to make it. And it's like $120,000 or so that you need to make in order to be successful, in order to survive, to pay your bills. Who makes that? Most people don't. And I'm not even talking minimum wage jobs. I'm talking the decent jobs, right? Listen, my wife she got a 4-year degree. She got her 2-year degree, then her 4-year degree. She's got multiple years in her field. She doesn't make that much. Not even close. When I was a truck driver, when I was a correctional officer, I didn't make that much. Not even close. There are no consistent blue collar jobs unless you were like an electrician, a plumber, something like that. I'm talking about a regular blue collar job that pays that. Even white collar jobs, because we had those too, don't make that. So we have had it to where the cost of living to survive in this country is far beyond the income that we're making. Buying a home is becoming the American dream that used to be. It used to be. RG10 says, moreover, with Trump, it will affect not only the domestic policy of the United States, but also foreign policy and the wars that are taking place. And you know what? That is a phenomenal point, because absolutely true. We are seeing Resident Ice Cream setting fire. I mean, literally burning down, not literally, figuratively burning down. I got to stop saying that because I know better. Burning down the relationships with other countries, right? He called Japan and India not xenophobic. He called them xenophobic. He has declared Russia as an enemy, despite the fact that they're not. They are not an enemy of the United States. When Trump was in the Oval Office, Russia and the U.S. had a fantastic, and you know what? But for those lefties that are like, well, of course he was a spy for Putin. All of that has been debunked. It's been proven to be absolute outright lies. They spent years digging into the man. They went through everything, his entire history. There was no collusion. The only thing they did uncover was he helped the FBI to convict Epstein. He did do that. He was the only one of the witnesses that was willing to cooperate. Certainly says a lot about who the good guys and who the bad guys are. RG says all over the world they're hoping for Trump and not for resident ice cream. Absolutely. You know, they've done a fairly effective job. I got to give it to them. Operation Mockingbird. If you don't know what it is, look it up. They've done an excellent job of portraying Trump as whatever, right? Racist, this and that, and this and that. But if you actually take the time, ladies and gentlemen, to look in to the real story behind these so-called gaffes and issues, the video of him so-called making fun of disabled reporters, that's not what happened. It's not what happened. I've talked about it before. I'll probably do another one because there are a lot of people who are suddenly understanding that the media has not been honest. The media has told them certain things that's not true. The Russia hoax is one of them. We were told over and over and over and over that Donald Trump was a Russian asset, that Trump owned, or that Putin owned him. As a matter of fact, they even went so far as to take Putin. Putin was asked by some reporter if he had compromising evidence on Trump. They even went so far as to mistranslate what he said as, oh, yeah, we're saving it, or some stupid crap like that. It's not what he said. He laughed. He laughed at them. And Putin has been painted as a villain, of course, because otherwise we would have to pay attention to what's going on in Russia. Dude, he's revitalized that country. Russia fell apart at the end of the communist regime. When the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, fractured, they were in chaos. And you can love him or hate him, but he's done some real fine work in Russia for the Russian people, because let's face it, those are his constituents. We're not his constituents. Why the hell would he care what we think? Trump's the same way. He cared about America. And you can, people point to his statements about Xi Jinping and the North Korea guy. Him talking about positive interactions with them and how, they did this good or that good. They're a fine person, Why should he bash them? That makes no sense. It doesn't make a bit of sense for Trump to say, oh, these are bad people, or they did this, or they did that. It's part of the deal. Once again, look, I think we have a situation once again. If you pay attention to the ATF and the other agencies, I hope the American people are paying attention. I really, really do, because there's a lot more going on here, and we're going to get into it, not right now, but on later episodes. I'm going to show you the tendrils, right? There's a show that I did a couple of years ago that showed all of the connections and the way that these various agencies work together to bring down Trump, or at least to try. Dig through, see if you guys can find it. I think I might do an updated version of it though, because I think a lot more things are apparent to a lot more people these days. So maybe I'll break out the big wall poster that I had and show you guys. But we'll see. I'm sure I can find a digital version out there. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me. I'm gonna have a couple of videos I'm uploading soon, and pay attention, because the only way we're going to be able to make this, the only way we're going to be able to save our country is by you and I paying attention to what they're doing and saying no more. No more. And with that, God bless you, God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.